Let's call the regular meeting of Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of March 24, 2009 to order. Please stand for the pledge. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to give this council the wisdom to make the correct decisions for the city of Newman. We ask that you bless the city of Newman and its residents, and God bless America. Amen.
Amen. Before we get started this evening, I would just like to please just ask for a moment of silence for the 4 fallen officers in the city of Oakland, please. Thank you, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Davis.
Present.
Candide.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor King.
Present. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing none, ceremonial matters. Seeing none, move on to item 7. Items from the public, non-agenda items.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Pat Maizetti. I'm president of Seroptimus International Augustine Newman. I'm here to discuss a couple items with you that I'm not sure you're aware of. Janet Carlson was the mayor of Newman for a number of years and also president of Seroptimus for 2 or 3 times. Our club is wishing to put a bench in her park in her honor and put a little plaque by it. So we are working with the Public Works Director. I want you to know that this will be taking place. Apparently you have a bench in storage that is one that's non-vandalized or whatever. So we're going to be doing that, and I would like to invite you when we get ready to lay the cement and get that done to invite the council to come and join us when we dedicate that to Janet. Her sign is in very bad shape, too, at the park. So our club is willing to take the time and the effort to refurbish that sign if you would like us to. So we need to have direction as to what you want us to do. Mainly why I'm here tonight is that on the 5th of this month, we had a function at the Louis Newman building. On the west side of that building, the lighting is extremely poor. It actually is non-existent. And I'm getting ready to leave about 8 o'clock carrying pots and pans. I've had a bilateral mastectomy in October. I did not trip, but I fell over one of the tire wells with the pots. So I have broken my clavicle bone, hurt my wrist, ended up in emergency room with my chin, both of my knees. We need to do something with those welds. They're dark, they're black. I didn't see them. We need to paint them, remove them, do something, because that building is used mainly by your seniors. Someone is going to get hurt very seriously there. I have difficulty breathing, lying down, getting up. I would say from a pain of 1 to 10, I'm about a 14 with my chest. So we need to do something with those. They need to be painted. My group is willing to go out and paint them, but we don't need to go through committees or whatever. We'll paint them white, bright orange, yellow, whatever you need to have done. Our group went in and painted the walls. We're the ones that went out and got the donations of putting in the new ceiling for you in that building 5 or 6 years ago. So we're willing to do whatever is necessary, but we need to take care of that safety issue. It's dangerous. I don't know if you've had any other people fall or trip over those tire wells or not, but we need to do something with them. And so I'm just asking you as a group to see that maybe we get some of this done. And my last issue I'd like to bring up with you this evening is something that's been bothering me for about 2 weeks now. Is I don't know if you are aware of it, but you have a group here in town that are attacking your citizens. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. But a week ago last Friday, we had a young lady that lives in the apartments above where I am. She's walking out the back alley about 7 o'clock. A white van pulls up, a woman jumps out, knocks her to the ground. A guy comes up and is stomping on her. They're taking her money. I had a gentleman that arrived in my office Monday that was attacked on his way home that lives out on Fig. The same MO in a white van. A young lady, I guess yesterday afternoon, was over by the car wash. The van pulled her into the van. She's 16, drove her over to the park, and she bit the gentleman on the hand that had her, where she was able to get loose and run from the van. I called today and spoke to one of the police officers, and I'm sorry that I have not spoken to the chief, but this is kind of serious. This is the 7th one, and like I say, the others are hearsay. These other 2 I know for sure happened because I've spoken to the people that took place. They don't want to come to the police. They're afraid of retaliation, and they're afraid that nothing is going to get done. So I'm just bringing this to your attention. You need to be aware that we've got citizens being attacked apparently by the same group. They're driving a white van that is a cargo van. It doesn't have windows in the back. It has a black hood. And I gave the officer today apparently a number off of the car so that someone that was aware of what was taking place gave me the license number. It's registered apparently in Los Banos. But we need to protect our citizens. We need to know that this is taking place. And if the chief would like to come and see me, I'll be back in my office tomorrow around 10 o'clock.
Well, I was going to suggest, Pat, number one, thanks for stepping up and speaking out on all the issues. On issue 1, if you'd get with our Public Works Director.
I already have.
Okay, so I'm sure that Garn will see that that's taken care of, and we'll
Right.
take a look at the lighting out there. Obviously, we don't want anybody else to get hurt. And secondly, I would ask that maybe speak with our chief before leaving tonight, and I'm sure he's aware of what's going on, and if he's not, and maybe you can help him out a bit, but I'm sure he is.
We
But-
just need to catch these guys
Absolutely.
before they do something worse.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the chief is aware, so. if
Because
you
I
want-
noticed that someone came in today, and like I say, it's
Nobody
all
comes
hearsay.
forward, you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they come forward. That's
Yeah.
what I tell
Yeah.
these people.
Right.
You've got to go in and talk to the
Yeah.
police, and they, they're a little bit leery of doing
Well-
so. I know that a young lady last night, apparently, her mother works at the St. George, was picked up and raped. So we need to, she's 17. So we really need to be after these
Here?
people. Yes.
Please
Same way,
spend
Ben?
some time with our
Yeah.
chief before you leave.
But we need to, make sure that none of these are just rumors, because rumor mills really do get started.
Excuse me, same white van?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again,
And
Pat.
I can tell you that I really appreciate it. After I spoke to the police officer this afternoon, I did see patrol cars out, up and down, because I told them that it was over at the Shell station at about 1 o'clock. That's where we got the license number. But we'd like to catch these
Okay.
guys and
Well,
not
I can-
allow this to continue.
I can
to
assure you there's
happen,
nobody
because
wants to catch them
someone-
more than our
someone's
police
gonna
department.
really get hurt.
Okay.
I've been where you are, and
I
it
know you
really
have.
helps if citizens will step forward.
Absolutely,
It's getting them to
absolutely.
step forward is the difficult
Yeah.
thing.
And so, one, I definitely will be at the ceremony for the park.
For-
2, we'll make sure
yeah.
we get something taken care of at the Louis Newman building.
Okay.
3, most importantly, please speak with our police chief before you leave.
Will do, will do.
All right.
And the sign too, Pat, what, do you have an idea what you want to do with that?
We'd
or-
just like to refurbish it. It's,
Okay.
the water has hit it, and
Yeah.
it's just needing to be repainted, and our group is willing to do that.
Okay.
We're a group of ladies that are not young anymore.
Do you do
But
houses?
But
or-
we are, do we do houses? Could do houses.
Well, you were talking about painting, I mean,
Oh, do
hey.
not make me laugh.
I'm sorry, Pat, I'm sorry.
But, we're willing to do whatever the city needs to have done. We just need to know what your priorities are and
Well,
what you need to have completed.
I
because
don't know
we're-
that we've ever pushed
We
away
are-
volunteer help, so.
We are a service organization, and that's what we do. So we're more than willing to do any service that you need to have done.
we
I'd
appreciate
like to
that.
see us get back and get some flowers in around the planted areas of the trees again. That was such a pretty part of our city, and I'd like to see that done again. So That was all I had to say. And
Well,
I
that was plenty.
will talk
Thank
to
you. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8, consent calendar. Section A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. Approval of warrants, approval of minutes of the March 10, 2009 regular meeting. Council direction?
I so move for approval of consent calendar.
I second.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item 9, public hearings. Item A, adopt resolution number 2009, next to number, a resolution declaring the existence of public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is a request from you to abate two locations in the city that the police department has exhausted all efforts to get the parties to resolve the nuisance on their own. So we'd ask that the council authorize an abatement for two locations, being 2218 Grand Canyon and 2224 Grand Canyon, that is graffiti on a fence that is visible to the public that has not been removed in a timely fashion.
Adam, is that over at the Ranchwood, right at the park?
Yes.
That's what I thought. That's what I was talking about, Gart. Yeah. So that hasn't been removed yet.
This is the
think-
portion that is privately owned.
Gotcha.
The city's done everything,
Everything.
they can. But
Yeah.
Public Works, I don't know of a time that they haven't covered it within 24 hours.
Oh, no, they're
very good.
fantastic. But I was telling him, we walk, and even at 7 o'clock in the morning across that park, I can't see if that's, my neighbor keeps going, that's still up there.
Yeah.
You know.
These
so
are the
that's what
privately
it
owned
is.
residences that face the park. correct?
Gotcha. Excellent.
Excuse me, Chief, you're saying they have 7 days in which to remove that?
I believe it's either 7 or 10 days. I cannot, off the top of my head, recall the exact. If I don't know if, anyone
It seems
else-
to me that there's some type of graffiti that has to be taken care of right now, that it can't wait. You know, it's like, well, to me, gang graffiti, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
needs to be removed right away. I mean, I just, nothing makes me madder.
You're absolutely right, and
And-
it's significant that it is covered right away. And to that end, this is actually a good segue. On April 15th at 7 p.m., we'll be holding a meeting at the West Side Theater. We've had a volunteer group that stepped forward for a graffiti abatement program, and we have a coordinator now, and we'll be asking for volunteers that'll come out, and we'll be able to cover the graffiti quickly. The way the program will work is, for example, the police department's alerted to it in the morning by Public Works or someone else. We'll be able to take our report, take our photographs, see if any evidence is left behind, these types of things. And then we'll be able to call the volunteer coordinator, who will assemble their troops, go out and cover it up for the homeowner immediately, so within hours. And then we can come up and beautify it, later, so to speak. But it's so important to just get it covered, even if it doesn't match. And this is a program that's modeled after the city of Gilroy. It's proven very successful. And I believe the Interact Club is interested in helping as well, and some other community groups. So that's April 15th, 7 p.m. at the West Side Theater. We'd invite everyone to come and hear more about that program. There'll also be a presentation from the county gang unit on stressing the importance of exactly what you said, the gang graffiti.
Yeah, I have something that's been mulling around in my mind for a while, and it's about time for us to take our city back. I'm just tired of these people doing this sort of thing, and it does nothing for our city at all. It's
a very much a public nuisance type crime. They come in the night and strike like trying to think of a polite way
Nice
to say it,
way.
but
Yeah.
there probably isn't one. They hit in the middle of the night, and then they're gone, and we get to wake up to this in the morning. So.
Any other questions for the
Thank you.
chief?
Well, just real quick, my compliments to Gardner and his crew, because I'm telling you, and the police too, that, we had someone that on the walls and what do you call it, not cinder block, but the nice wall that's right there on Upper. And they had that down, and that was work. And you guys had that down within a day. I mean, it was beautiful. This stuff's been up there, and it just keeps bugging me, but we can't touch it. Now we can touch it. I didn't realize that, or I would have, been before this. But now we're going to touch it. But they do a super job.
If
So-
it's on the side that faces the park, why do we have to give them so much opportunity to correct it?
Still their fence, their property, unfortunately. So we would not have until now, or until you authorize it, we would not have the authority to do that. So, this one did take some time. We were trying to. We've been working with these folks, and we were extremely patient with them, and unfortunately, it's time to move forward.
Okay.
With that, I'll open up the public hearing. I'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to council for direction.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2009 declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 94-4.
I second that.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, move to item B, it's public hearing, approving the proposed CDBG projects for the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan, fiscal year 09-10, and close 30-day public comment period. Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight, we are bringing back the proposed 9-10 fiscal year CDBG project list and conducting the required public hearing per grant requirements. As of this date, no public comments have been received by staff. If adopted tonight, these projects will be included in the 2009-10 annual action plan that is adopted by the consortia as a whole. That's coming next. With current development, staff would like to add 2 projects to the proposed list. I've given you a printout showing those 2 projects. They are both continuations of this fiscal year's projects. Given unforeseen storm drain engineering issues and just, general, delays that we didn't anticipate, we've spoken with the consortia and are working on getting it continued. The Fresno T has already been approved to be continued to the next fiscal year, and we're still finalizing the Pioneer Park Phase 3 to be continued to the next fiscal year. Staff anticipates a 2009-10 CDBG allocation of $202,193. The specific project amounts that are identified in the staff report are tentative. They were for the sake of budgeting purposes. Once we finalize that, we will amend them as necessary. Staff recommends approval of the project list, including the 2 additions I previously mentioned. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Stephanie? If not, we'll open a public hearing. Seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for direction. Somebody?
I'll make a motion to approve the CDBG project for Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan.
Noting the two additions as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, and the 2 additions. Sorry.
Motion, is there a
I
second?
second that motion.
A second? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item C. Consider for approval of the draft Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan, fiscal year 09-10. Stephanie.
Hello again. As I just referenced, in order to receive our annual CDBG allocations, each city in the 5-member consortia must adopt the annual action plan. The plan identifies each consortia member's projects for the upcoming fiscal year. The project list you just approved will be included in the 2009-10 annual action plan. Without your approval, we cannot receive our CDBG funding. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the draft annual action plan.
And we need the funding.
Yes.
Open the public hearing.
Free money.
Anybody wish to comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for direction.
I so move to approval of the draft annual action plan for the year 2009 through 2010.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, if I
Yes,
may
sir.
just take 1 second. Stephanie and our Public Works Department do such an excellent job with this particular program. I don't know if you saw, but on page 38, other than the county and Ceres, we are the next highest allotment. We actually get allotted more money than Oakdale, Patterson, and Waterford, and that's because this staff, especially Stephanie, work really hard on making sure that we deliver our projects on time and we spend our money. So I just wanted to give her that kudos at this particular point in time.
Well deserved.
And also to let you know that
Well deserved.
your staff is working really hard to make sure we get every dollar we can to work on local projects.
Excellent.
And we appreciate it. So, given that, this is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2009, next number, amending chapter 11.09.170 of the Title 11 Public Ways and Property of the Newman City Code.
Hello again. The proposed ordinance was presented to the council on March 10th to remediate the erroneous section of Chapter 11. This amendment will also allow for the rental fees for the Louis J. Building to be set by resolution as opposed to ordinance from this point forward. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 11.09.170. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Stephanie?
Did everybody get the letter that, about this, from Pat Nova, about the insurance on this? $3 million insurance for the organization, for the women's voters, I think it is.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I'm just wondering that, Mike, how's that work? I mean, do they have to come up with that bond? And
We're double checking on that. My understanding is that that's for our street fair, not necessarily for the Louis J. Newman rental. But let me confirm that, and then I will report back to the council on that. But my general understanding is on that. But I'll have to double check. I've just been real busy the last couple of days, but I'll get back to you each individually on that to let you know how that works out.
because that would be, the way it sounds there is that every organization that gets in there for a meeting.
Well, we do require people who do rent it to provide us a liability insurance. Most use their homeowners insurance and that type of thing. But I don't believe we raised it. But I'm going to have to double check. I mean, I'm not 100% certain on that. But
Okay.
my general sense is telling me we did not raise it for the Louis J. Newman rental.
I think we did.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
back
we
in
just
2007. It was simply an update of the rental
yeah,
fees.
we just updated that, and then the $3 million though is what we did raise for our downtown events.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We did raise that, and you did adopt that as part of a program for your downtown street events. So I'll double check and
That's only
get
downtown then.
yeah, but I'm going to double check and make sure that doesn't apply to Louis J. And then I'll double check on the whole thing.
There's
for
a
you.
misunderstanding, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to look into
Well,
it.
especially as the question has, if that was across the board for everybody, such as the Women's League, Women's Club, and everybody else who uses those facilities, are they all required to come up with that $3 million?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's across the board. But $3 million just seems like is a number that I've never heard before with the Louis J. So let me double check on it for you as a council, and then I will report back to you through email if you don't mind. Otherwise, in
Is this
another
something?
appropriate way.
Is this something that we probably should table this action until we get?
No, I don't. This doesn't have an effect on.
Bearing.
Yeah, they're not
Okay.
tied together. You
No,
can go ahead and
no.
move forward with this particular item, and it doesn't have an effect on this
Yeah,
particular one.
just, we need to address this
Yes,
letter
and
next
we
week,
will.
or next meeting.
And we
that's
will
all. Okay.
respond to Ms. Novoa, and we
Yeah.
will CC the council accordingly.
Right. Well, hopefully, and the issue I obviously had, I think probably everybody has, is we don't want those groups to be basically put out of business, out of whack for everything they do for our community. So I think that's important. So, okay. So we'll continue on then. Any other questions of Stephanie on item D? I'll open the public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for direction.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2009, amending chapter 1109.170 of Title 11 Public Works and Property.
We have a motion, is there a
I
second?
second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item 10, regular business. Item A, adopt resolution number 2009, next to number, awarding a contract for capital fees, facility fees, update and authorize city manager to execute a contract for services.
Hello again. In 2002, the city updated its capital facilities fees with Charles A. Long and Associates. The purpose of capital facility fees are to determine the facilities and infrastructures necessary to serve new development. In December 2008, city staff released a request for proposals for a fee update. 5 RFPs were received. Interviews of the 3 finalists were held on February 19th. Based on the scope of work description, interviews, and reference checks, staff recommends that the firm PMC be awarded for the contract not to exceed $45,000 for the capital facility fees updates. The reason we're asking for a not to exceed amount is to allow for any additional work such as annual updates that we may negotiate with the consultant, any additional work that we see is required to give a little bit of room to be able to pay for that. This is funded through the Capital Facilities Fees Impact Fund, so it is not general fund money. So we do have money for this.
Stephanie, you selected 3 groups to be interviewed.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at the group on top list. Were they not interviewed? Were they chosen not to interview for a specific reason?
Goodwin,
Mhm.
based on their RFP, we felt that, well, one, it was a rather inexperienced company. They haven't been around too long, so we were concerned about their experience level. Their scope of work wasn't as detailed. I don't believe it included a nexus study, which is pretty much your justification for your fees. Based on that information, we felt that the panel that reviewed all the RFPs felt that Goodwin was not an appropriate choice for the city of Newman.
Okay. I was curious. I mean, they're considerably less than the other bid. So
The nexus study would be more than the difference, probably, for somebody
Yeah.
to do.
Just that.
okay. Bring it to council for action.
Make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2009 awarding a contract for CFF update services with PMC.
So a motion is there a second?
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item B, adopt resolution number 2009, next to number, awarding a bid for Pioneer Park Rehabilitation Phase 2, Part A, and authorize city manager to execute a contract for services.
Hello again.
Seth, you get all kinds of camera time.
Yes.
You're doing better than the chief is this
Why are
time.
we paying Mike
It's a
this-
Stephanie show
this
tonight.
buck?
That's a
She's gonna be
Stephanie
up there
show.
all the time.
Last year, the council approved the second phase of the Pioneer Park Rehabilitation Project as a CDBG project. This phase would continue rehabilitating Pioneer Park to replace and to demolish and replace the picnic shelter, cement, hardscape, irrigation, and turf. Staff advertised for a bid for the shelter and hardscape portion of the project. Sealed bids were received and opened yesterday. 3 bidders submitted a total of 4 bids. 1 bidder submitted 2 different scenarios. Of those received, BC Construction was the lowest responsible bidder at the base bid of $139,384. Given CDBG funding restraints, we had previously identified an alternate to include picnic tables. Well, CDBG, I found out today that they don't cover that, so that's why we are asking to simply award the base bid, which is going to cover the demolishing, the cement, and the picnic structure. Staff recommends that is awarded to BC Construction. We are currently working on our funding for CDBG, and I got confirmation today that we will have $150,000 for that project, so we are right in line for funding for that.
What was the bid on that, Stephanie?
I'm sorry.
What was the bid?
The bid amount for BC Construction was $139,384. We are expecting that project management costs such as inspections and things of that sort will cost an additional $10,000. So that's why we're allocating $150,000 for that.
And what did our local company come in at?
Our local company, I have that here. I printed it out. Here we go. Are you meaning Imlin Construction Services?
Westside Landscape.
Westside Landscape didn't submit a bid unless they were a subcontractor of.
Okay.
I don't believe seeing that because this is primarily hardscape in this structure. I don't remember seeing them in the bid packs. Do you, Garner? I don't remember seeing their name in there. BC Construction is out of Ceres, so it's somewhat local.
Yeah. Well, I saw a Newman local company and as well as a company from Gustine's. So I didn't know if they had bid on the toll package or.
There were some licensing restraints, so usually those companies will go through a major contractor and they will be identified as a sub. I don't remember seeing them, but I'm more than happy to look into it.
Okay,
for
no,
you.
no, I'm just like, if we have a local company bidding on a local job, obviously, I would like to see a local company, if they're within.
Oh, definitely.
Reason, come in.
Hill Park is using primarily a local
Yeah.
company, which is really nice.
Okay, so I'm just curious. Okay, council direction.
Can I just a quick question,
You
Mayor,
can.
Mr. Mayor? Once we destroy it, then what? Is there other funds to?
Well, this portion
that-
will demolish the existing cement,
Gotcha.
the barbecue pit, and the structure, and we'll
Okay.
rebuild all the cement and the structure.
Okay.
So we will no longer have a barbecue pit or picnic tables, but we are working on our options for that. We have some potential other grants for tables
That's
that
what I
we're
was
looking
gonna ask.
into.
Yeah,
And
good.
then the barbecue pit I've discussed with Garner, and we have a couple of ideas, possibly to put more than one, possibly to put one in a different location, so that folks can still have that amenity at the park.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, CDBG doesn't cover those amenities because they're
Yeah.
not considered essential. So,
Essential for a barbecue.
I know.
We'll talk to the Seroptimist.
Any other questions of Stephanie?
I've got them paint my house.
Seeing none, I'll bring it to council for direction.
I so move for approval of Resolution 2009, next number, awarding bid for Phase 2 of the Pioneer Park Rehabilitation Project.
We just need the company and that number again.
Oh, to BC Construction. In
Oh,
the-
yeah.
At 139.
BC Construction for
In the amount of-
$139,384.
Perfect.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Good job.
All righty. Move to item C, adopt resolution 2009, next in number, approving the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE, program and implementation agreement for race-conscious clauses and requirements for the city of Newman.
Thank
Garner.
you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor and council members, in front of you is a recommendation to adopt the DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, that is required through Caltrans. Anytime we receive grant funding or apply for grant funding, we have to meet certain requirements. This is one of those. It used to be called a race-neutral clause. Now it's called race-conscious. They just came through with this. We're one of the first cities I found out actually in the region that's moving forward already to adopt this. So we can be in line to receive our grant funding, like the stimulus monies or CDBG monies, I think is tied to this, if I remember right. And CMAQ money, LTF, these are all grant funds that Newman has been very good about spending. We have to have this in place or we're not allowed to receive it. So that, therefore, your Public Works Department is moving this forward so we can get our funding in line. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Questions of Garner? We love to spend everybody else's money. Okay. I'll bring it back to council for direction on item C.
I move that we adopt Resolution 2009, next number, approving the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program and implementation agreement for race-conscious clauses and requirements for the city of Newman.
I second it.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item D, authorize a budget adjustment for the purchase of a Public Works Department pickup. Garner.
Good evening again. In front of you is a proposal. There's an opportunity for a possible savings. This is why we're bringing this item forward. Next year's budget is planned to replace one of our existing public works vehicles that's exceeding its useful life. It's in pretty poor condition. We're looking at budgeting $18,000 for a used pickup for next year. Our public works superintendent found a great deal due to Bigelow Chevrolet going out of business. They've reduced their prices significantly. This is an opportunity for us to spend $9,263 and save approximately $8,700 by purchasing this vehicle ahead of time. Next year, we would not budget to replace a vehicle, and so we have that potential savings. It's a great offer from Bigelow to do this. The vehicle has been secured upon approval by council, if you so move, and this is not a general fund expenditure. This will be coming out of the wastewater and sewer funds.
Gardner, question, what would be the Blue Book value of that automobile?
The Blue Book value of the, I thought I had that. The Blue Book value is approximately $13,000 of the vehicle that we're purchasing.
Okay, thank you
That,
very
of course,
much.
doesn't count the taxes or anything else on top of that.
Right, that's just
So
Blue
it'd
Book
be
value. Our
probably
price,
14, 15,000.
correct. Our price was $9,263. That's out the door.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Well, it's unfortunate we have to take advantage of
I know.
closing business, but, I mean, it's good for us, and I think it'd be wise, so I'll bring it to council for direction if there's no further questions.
I'll make a motion that we authorize a budget adjustment for the purchase of a Public Works Department pickup.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good job, buddy.
Motion carries, thank you, and thank you, Bigelow. Item E, adopt resolution number 2009, next to number, a resolution authorizing the terms of a redevelopment business loan agreement with Jose Reynoso and directing the chief executive officer to draft and execute the necessary documentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Again, as we always look into this current economic climate that's going on, the doors do close. We did have an opportunity here to purchase a vehicle at a significant discount, and unfortunately, a car dealership will be closing in our community. However, when some doors close, other doors open, and so we've been working with Mr. Reynoso, who owns a dealership in another town to the south of us. And by Mr. Bigelow going out of business, this opens up an opportunity for him, Mr. Reynoso, to then take over an opportunity here in the community. So, as part of what we've been working with Mr. Reynoso is the terms of a business loan agreement that would allow him to open up a car dealership in our community, as well as to take over a mechanic shop that was currently occupied by Bigelow's. So Mr. Reynoso would come into our community, have a service shop, and then also have a car dealership here in our community. As part of that, we've worked on some terms here, and part of our proposal tonight is what you're going to see is a $200,000 business loan to Mr. Reynoso, and it would be a 10-year agreement. The terms are attached to that you can see here, and for full disclosure, what we're offering Mr. Reynoso is 0% interest for the first 2 years. What that does is it allows him to get established during this current economic climate. It's a very tough environment. Car sales at this particular point in time is a very difficult environment. This allows him 2 years, and hopefully the economy recovers to a significant amount. It allows him to get his feet on the ground and get moving. We then bump the rate up to 2.5% for years 3, 4, and 5. Again, still a discounted rate. That's about what we're getting at LAIF right now. It's about 2.5%. I think it's currently 2.6. I haven't checked in the last month or two, but last I checked it was at 2.7. So I know LAIF is on the downward swing right now. So that's currently what we're getting from our local agency investment fund. And then years 6 through 10 would be a 5% interest rate. And the way we looked at it, after 5 years, his business should be fully established, and gives him ample time to establish himself within our community, to establish a relationship with us and the citizens here, and allows him to move forward. And it's still at 5% is still a very reasonable rate, we believe, for him to continue to make profit, and allows the city to recover, again, our investment. There is a security note, and we'll work with him on the collateral. Right now, we're asking for $250,000 in collateral, only because we anticipate that real property will be used as collateral. And again, during the current economic climate and the way real estate values are, we thought we'd go a little bit above what the loan amount would be. So we'll work on that. There's also some sales targets he needs to reach, $2 million after year one, and that would be a combination of both his service shop and his used car sales. We believe that is obtainable, and when he sells parts and he sells vehicles on 6 to 8 vehicles a year, he should be able to attain that pretty easily. 6 to 8 vehicles per month, excuse me.
Yeah, I was going to say. What kind of
6 to 8 a year, he's not going to make very much.
He's
hoping he gets a lot more than 6 to 8 a year on that one.
What else is he putting in there?
We did put he'd be responsible for half the cost of the documents, which is typically customary in a real estate transaction, a loan transaction here. And then we're just some repayments on there. I know Mr. Reynoso is here. You may want to answer him any questions that we have, but staff is recommending that we move forward with this. In your staff report, I do make mention currently the impact to our general fund is approximately between $40,000 and $45,000 negative with the closure of Bigelow. That's how much he brought to our community. And as you know, general fund is where we provide all of our public services, Parks and Recreation and pay for a lot of our staffing is through our general fund. That's your discretionary fund. So we believe by helping Mr. Reynoso establish in our community that will soften that negative impact of the Bigelow closure on us. And at some point in time in the future, we truly believe that Mr. Reynoso will fully recover and achieve that level for us in funding, general fund funding of $45,000 into the future. By allowing him to establish his business early, get established not only in his sales but in his service shop, and then in the future we'll fully recover all the funds we lost through Mr. Bigelow's closure. So, with that, I can answer any questions that you may have right now. And Mayor, Chairman, this is a redevelopment agency, not a city loan. This is a redevelopment agency loan. Right now you're acting as a redevelopment agency. This is non-general fund redevelopment agency. So. One of the things that we're trying to do here is Mr. Reynoso will bring jobs to our community, the jobs that were lost in the service shop, and he will also bring revenues to us and eliminate the blight. Instead of having a vacant property, commercial property, he will fill that property in a matter of probably weeks as soon as we can start getting these loan docs and everything moving forward. So with that, Chairman, members of the board, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions of Michael?
I have one concern. Property value is still depreciating, still dropping. I don't think $250,000 is enough if it's real estate to guarantee a $200,000 loan.
Well, that's still another 20% drop in property values. And one of the things, and again, I'm not a real estate expert, but commercial and industrial properties tend to hold their value better than residential. So, in this particular case, for collateral, he'll be using commercial property, not a residential property. So therefore, we think that a 20% buffer is adequate. I believe if we were using a residential property, you're concerned. I'd be very concerned as you are. But with the fact that we're talking about using a commercial structure as collateral, I believe that a 20% drop, going from 250 to 200 is very significant. I don't think that the economy and the commercial property is going to drop that much. So, again, I'm not a commercial expert, but that would be my take as your executive officer for the agency.
Any questions of Michael? Well, I have to say I was really, really pleased when you first told me about it, and so you're right. One door closes, another one opens, and I would certainly welcome Mr. Reynoso to our community, and if we can help establish a new business, new jobs, I'm just ready to go. I can't wait to see another business come in there. So if there's no other questions, I'll bring it to council for direction. Motion to somebody?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2009-XX, authorizing the terms of a business loan agreement with Mr. Reynoso and directing the Chief Executive Officer to draft and execute the necessary documents.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You scared me. Welcome.
Thank you for filling a void.
I heard it's a Porsche dealership, is that right?
Yeah.
Sell 6 a year.
All right.
Good for you.
Well, that's good news for the community. So, anyway, okay, we'll move on to item 11. Items from District 5 County Supervisor Jim D. Martini.
Good evening, Mayor Caton, council members. Not much of a report for you tonight. I just would like to say that our EDAC meeting, Economic Development Action Committee, is going to be on Thursday at 6 o'clock, so we'd hope to have a representative of the city there. We are making some changes to the projects, or at least suggestions to change it, with a little clearer direction from the federal government and Mr. Marshall, who heads up the feds in this area. He's given us some criteria that we're going to have to fit the projects into. So that's going to be our major agenda item this Thursday is is what the criteria is and how to fit projects into it. It has to do with job creation and working on regional projects and other partners. That seems to be the direction that they're asking for now. This seems to be more of a moving target, because when we started it was one thing, and then we got a new person, and now it's slightly different. But it still has its basis in long-term job creation. So that's about the only thing of importance to the city that I can think of this week. Everything else is reasonably quiet. I know we're struggling with our budget like you, so that's been our major focus. But as the money gets tight, any kind of money that we can access through grants or any kind of other programs, whether they're state or federal, we really need to go after them to help our projects, and especially with the unemployment rate that we have in this county now, it's 17%. We need to really look at everything. So this criteria that they've come up with, we're going to go through it in detail, and so you can tailor your projects to have better chance of accessing the money.
Jim, where's that EDAC meeting at? Is it?
It's at the county administration building. It's just it's down, not in the council chambers, but in the room off to the side of it.
Okay.
It's in the basement.
I'll be attending that, Michael. So you
Please.
okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, and then we'll tell you the latest and how to apply for the money. So, but it's because it does you no good to submit a project that doesn't meet the criteria. And now that we know a little bit more about it, you find out what the criteria is and try and tailor your project so you can get accepted. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it. Move on to item 12, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. First item up is our council member Kelly is unable to attend a CARB meeting, which is an Air Resource Board meeting on Tuesday, the 31st. We don't have an alternative for that committee, and they're really hoping that they need someone there. So maybe if we can get an alternative for Ted. He said he promised he'd attend every other one, but he just unable to attend this one because of, I believe, a medical procedure.
Can someone fill in for an alternate for Ted?
I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick, we'll make sure that we email you tomorrow with all the specifics on that. But that is next Tuesday.
No problem.
And I understand it's free food, free drinks, everything. So too bad, Ted.
On 10.
You will love it. I'll just leave it at that.
Green air, clean air.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
The next thing we'd like to do is schedule, we've been very sparse on 2-on-2s this year with the school district, but we'd like to get together on April 27th. It's Monday, I believe. April 27th, 4:30, whatever works for you, if you could let me know.
Yeah.
And I
4:30
believe that
is fine.
4:30.
Okay.
We finally were able to get bids from Miss Campbell. Miss Campbell is a local photographer. She's offered to come in before our next meeting or at your convenience here, but we'd like to do it in one day in one setting. She'll bring in a backdrop, and we could probably do it at the City Hall or here, and then take pictures of each one of you, headshots of each one of you, so that we could display them appropriately. Part of her cost would include an 8x10 print of each, and also give us digital copies of that. And the cost for that is $250. And then the second option that we did is obviously we contacted our local media outlet, Matos Newspapers, and Mr. Harris has agreed to do that for free and kind of work with us on there. So
Free's good.
Are we insured for that?
We'd have to. What he would do is take the photographs for us and give us digital copies, and we would print them up. But I mean, we can go down to Rite Aid and stick it in the machine and print them up. So and just pay for the cost of the picture. So if if I'm seeing the nod, we
Well,
everybody likes something
I
that's
bet she
free.
is my old photo.
Okay, if you like, we
No,
can.
just kidding.
Okay.
But now you got to show all the years of wisdom you have.
Sure. So we have two opportunities that I want to run by you. Would be April 14th, maybe an hour before the meeting, starting at 6. We could just take the photos and have that done. Or again, we are meeting on April 21st, and then that's when we're having our budget workshop. And we could do the hour before that. But I believe we split that at 6:30.
Yep.
Between the 6 and the 7, so that would be 5:30 to 6:30. So if you could look at your calendars and advise me, we'll go ahead and make sure we get this thing scheduled.
You said April 21st?
Either the 14th or the 21st is what we would recommend.
You had the council meeting at 6 p.m.
On the 21st, we have it at 6:30, right?
No,
Yes,
Yeah.
6:30 is right.
We have
For the workshop.
What I'm saying is, on the 14th, we could schedule the photographs that take place from 6 to 7, and then roll right
Okay.
into our meeting at
Okay.
7.
Would that be easier for everybody, you think? Why don't we do the 14th?
Okay.
Photo hour. Great.
We've had tremendous success with the, and I believe Councilmember Davis took advantage of this with the computer training we've had at the Bob McConnell Center. So we are currently working right now with that program to start scheduling next year's and getting the schedule out early. We're actually thinking we may try to. We're going to look at the numbers this year if we can get more bilingual classes available out there, and we also talked about working with the school district a little bit more and trying to get the parents more involved and trying to offer more of those classes. But it'll be like the next, trying to build in some more intermediate classes. So you have some beginner and intermediate. So those that took the classes this year, like Councilmember Davis, can then go on to a next level, and then hopefully maybe even take advanced after that.
It was very good. I've taken each subject that was offered,
Excellent.
and it was very good, very
Right.
comprehensive.
Good. And just for the community, those classes are valued around $200 if you have to take them from the private industry that offers them. So we do provide those free of charge.
There probably needs to be more public knowledge of this, because some classes are very poorly attended.
Okay.
Today there were 6 there, and that's a lot of money to bring somebody to teach 6 people one thing.
Sure. What we can do is maybe we can work with the local newspaper and at least monthly just publish the schedule or something and try. I think they may have it in the where they do the daily type stuff and the weekly events. So we'll make sure that they're in there. We'll get it on our I think it's on our website, but we'll try to get as much word out as we can, Ms. Davis, to make sure that those classes are full.
I've seen one article in the paper about it, only one, and I read
Okay.
that paper every week, so there isn't much there.
Okay, we'll touch bases on that and make sure see what we can do for advertisements. And then lastly, just today, we received something from the county. Our local congressman, Mr. Cardoza, Dennis Cardoza, is looking for projects to do some ERA funding on. And again, that's the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act stimulus money. So he's looking for, I think, 10 to 15 projects to push forward on this particular one. So obviously, we will continue to toot our horn and say we have the most project-ready project, I guess, in the county, and it does meet the criteria and is most qualifies for ERA funding. So we're going to continue to push this project up there. Chip Langham and I have been playing phone tag for the last probably since last Friday, but I'll touch bases again with him tomorrow. Just to let him know that we want to do that, and then we'll meet with the county. And I know this is they put it out at the county call, but we'll make sure that they understand that this is Congressman Cardoza, not Congressman George Rodanovich.
Right.
So those in Rodanovich's
Right.
district, they can get on our list after we get full funding on our list. So with that, I don't have anything else.
Any questions, Michael? And Michael, let me know if you get through with Chip.
Okay.
I think it's imperative that that we get directly through to Dennis and
Right.
and push our cause. So I think I have his cell phone number, so I might be able to get through to him, maybe. Anyway, okay, move on to staff. Staff comments, Chief?
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, Council. Earlier this evening, a resident brought to your attention some reports of multiple violent crimes occurring in the city over the last week. I want to stress to the community that, one, certainly it's an absolute guarantee. If they're not reported to the police, then it's a guarantee nothing will happen. Please, 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 if you're a victim of a crime, we definitely want to know about it, and you have my absolute assurance that we'll do everything we can to investigate that crime and resolve it. In direct response to what was brought to your attention, and I want to also reassure the community, I don't want them to be alarmed that there's some serial epidemic occurring, but as the resident indicated, none of these crimes have been reported to law enforcement, which it would be, in my experience, extremely unusual and an indicator that perhaps there's another version of events. So no one should rush to judgment and assume that there is a band of folks in a white van out victimizing our residents daily. But if there are victims out there, we certainly want to talk to them. So please come forward, and we'll definitely look into the residents' concerns. But again, we have no information whatsoever that these crimes have occurred in the city. So I'll leave it at that. Additionally, from time to time, we like to remind folks that we are not immune from thefts and burglaries, and we certainly have our share. And so we please ask folks to stay vigilant, be aware of your surroundings, your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, lock your doors, utilize other precautionary measures that are available to you if you have them, and if you can obtain them. We would encourage you to do that. Things such as alarms, reinforce your doors, always lock your windows. Regrettably, the days of leaving your windows open to allow fresh air, or leaving the inner person door that leads from your garage into your home, assuming that your outer garage person door is sufficient. That's probably one of the weakest doors in your home, is the door that leads from your garage to your backyard. And unfortunately, many people will just use a doorknob lock on that one, and then they leave the door that actually leads into their home, right into their kitchen or whatever, completely unlocked. So reality is those days are over, and even for our community, you're just going to have to take the steps to protect your property, and call us, please, if you see something suspicious. So please be aware that burglaries do in fact occur, and most of them occur during the day. It's a misnomer that they occur at night. Most of our burglaries happen during the day when you're all at work. It's extremely rare that a residential burglary occurs at night when you're home sleeping. The simple explanation is that the burglar does not want to confront you or meet you, because they may not like the response they would get from a lot of our residents. So, and also, even though you may take all those precautions, I mean, you still may be a victim. I'm not suggesting that you're going to completely protect yourself, but doing something is certainly better than nothing. So, and lastly, I'd just like to remind, in case folks are just joining in with us that didn't catch the beginning of the meeting, on April 15th at the Westside Theater at 7 o'clock, we'll be having a town hall meeting, so to speak, with an emphasis on graffiti, but we'll also be able to talk about gangs as well, and we'll have some gang expert there to make a presentation. And we're really looking for volunteers for this graffiti abatement program to help us cover graffiti right away. It's extremely important to prevent future violence, and also decreases graffiti. As we noted earlier with Councilman Bob Martina, if a particular type of graffiti goes up and the rival gang, so to speak, sees that, then they'll respond, and then it goes back and forth, and it just continues to escalate until we can stop it. So the goal is to cover it before the other gang even sees it, while they're still sleeping till noon, and the rest of us are working, we can hopefully get that covered right away. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of the
any
chief?
other issues.
Would you say that gangs are on the increase in Newman?
I would not say that. We have not had any increase in reported crimes or contacts with gang individuals. I think it's relatively status quo. We're pretty quick to respond to it. We did an interesting issue recently. We learned that Manteca was apparently sending some folks our way attending our continuation school, and they were not the most productive citizens. So we were able to resolve that issue and with those folks and encourage them to go to another community.
Encourage.
Good. We have not had any violent gang crimes or anything like that.
Chief, have you had any reports of kids downtown trying to shake down our older citizens for cigarettes and loose change? I mean, some kids with white T-shirts I've heard about.
No, I haven't had any information lately in regards to anything occurring there at all, but definitely not anything like that. That would definitely be something we'd want to know about. What could appear relatively minor, that's actually a very serious offense that is like occurring around the liquor store area kind of thing.
I actually was in the barber shop last week and I heard a couple people talking about it and my ears perked up right away. And they're high school kids, maybe a few out of high school, some still in high school, but they all wear white T-shirts that hang down around about their knees or pretty long. And I heard 2 instances where they try to shake down somebody coming out of one of our local pubs for cigarettes, and then the second was an older gentleman walking his dog.
When you say shakedown, would you be more of a shoulder tap type thing or more of a threatening type?
Well, there were no weapons that I know of.
Again, that's the type of thing that appears relatively more of a nuisance, maybe, and so people will be less likely to call. We would like to think, and that we have the type of police department that people would want to call. We want to know about those sorts of things. Nothing is too insignificant for us, because it does give us a measure of what's happening and where we need to concentrate more, because with the number of officers we have, we have to sort of put out fires, so to speak. But if we don't have the information, then we don't know that's happening. We may be concentrating our resources somewhere else. So please, everyone, please report these types of things to us.
In the technology that we have today, though, have we ever looked into something like, cameras on our street corners, things like that?
It's interesting that you mentioned that. We have, and one of the things that's it's certainly very doable. The technology has been around for some time. The city of Ripon is nearly 100% wired into their residential areas. Officers can literally look on their computers in their cars and monitor areas of the city while they're in another area. Or if they get a report, for example, of activity at JJ's Liquor, if we have the system, then in response to the call, the officer could see live what's happening on his computer screen there and see that they're leaving, fleeing the area, what they look like. The advantages are just overwhelming on the type of policing that could occur with that equipment. The bottom line is the cost.
Sure.
We have had some recent discussions as well, maybe trying to revisit that on maybe a smaller scale, and we'll continue to do that. But it's not a cheap adventure.
Yeah.
And Councilman, that's one of the potential Arab monies that the chief and I have talked about. Now they talk in the Arab language, it's usually high metropolitan type areas, but again, we're going to work with our congressman, and hopefully, even a small investment of $30,000 to $50,000 could pretty much cover our downtown. So we'll come in and let him know that would be a significant law enforcement tool for us and help us with coverage. So that's one of the things we'll be talking to our congressman about for other projects outside of our plaza, because we need to continue to look at other projects outside of our plaza, and that's one that the chief and I have been exploring on ERA, and it doesn't perfectly fit, but we'll try to squeeze it in there. So.
Yeah. We certainly need something like that in our city. I mean, it's like, I'm sure it's like having an extra police officer on duty.
Probably more, but it's not without controversy as well. We would need to
Well, that's too
be
bad,
prepared
isn't it?
for that as well.
That's too bad. No, I had one other question in regards to, we still see a number of young people just standing around downtown, and I know that we've talked about this before, and there's very little we can do about it. But I was wondering if when that occurs, if we couldn't put a police officer, make him be part of that little gang, just walk up there and just make his presence known. I think it would be very irritating, and maybe they'd move on. I don't know, but I mean, it bothers me that they can stand on corners and intimidate people, which they do when they're standing there, and I know because I feel it, and I'm not afraid. But I'm saying when there's 5 or 6 kids standing down there and you don't know why they're there, it's just something that I don't appreciate at all, especially in the town of Newman.
Absolutely, and that is a tactic, and I do know that officers, we have several officers that do that. Regrettably, again, the number of officers just doesn't always allow us to do that. Just for example, just last week, 106 calls for service, 7 days a week. You can do the math and the number of hours in the day. Predominantly, our calls are from the hours of 12 p.m. to the hours of 11 or 12, which would be the period when this is occurring. So that's when we're at our busiest. We've had 1,316 total calls for service just to this date. So if you only have 1 or 2 officers on duty, unfortunately, they're spending a lot of time dealing with other matters. You missed it. You were in here when I stepped out to speak with a resident. Shortly, there was a situation outside, and folks were rather upset with response time and so on, that they had been assaulted at the car wash nearby. And when I phoned dispatch to find out where our officers are, they're both on domestic violence calls. So, that's the type of thing that here we have someone else needs service, and but they're both tied up on an active incident, of course, that takes priority, a domestic violence event. This person's safe. Granted, was assaulted, but is now the suspect is gone, is safe. So that's a lower priority call for service. So. It's just the nature of sort of the business sometimes that our response is not as what we would like it to be, and but I have heard many occasions. I've done it myself during the day. Walk by. We do have officers that do that, and from time to time I remind them and encourage them to continue to do that. But also, the business owner does have some responsibility there, and we try to work with them as well, particularly an alcohol licensed establishment, without identifying it by name. They have some responsibility as well, as part of their ABC license, that they're to keep their sidewalks clear and keep minors from loitering in front of the business. But that's problematic too, because they also sell a lot of things that are very interesting to minors, soda, candy, and so on, where they're going for lunch or hanging out after school. And, it's a complicated issue that it just requires constant vigilance.
I had one other question.
Yes,
we have a lot of volunteers, new volunteers that can they be used for something like this, or is it something that they would not be able to do? What I'm saying is,
I would have some concerns with that based on liability and workers' comp and various things, because it is quasi an enforcement action. And if they are in uniform, etc., if someone was to assault them, or our volunteers aren't highly trained and don't have techniques in crisis management or dealing with people that get upset and yelling at them, these types of things, so something bad could happen, that we may have some responsibility there. So, and we typically try to use them more just eyes and ears versus an intimidation or a type of enforcement kind of thing.
when you say eyes and ears, would they have a radio that they'd be?
Yes,
they would be in. Okay,
we're working towards that. The one thing we talked about last month. Each month we're doing a new training for them, because this is all very new. They've only really been used, at least in recent few years, doing the court run, some minor security, sort of assistance at booths and fall festival, things like that. And each month we're having a new duty for them, so we're growing, and it's just going to take time because there are a lot of intricacies that they need to be aware of before we just send them out. The goal is eventually, though, hopefully maybe in the next 6 months, that they could be actually out driving around as eyes and ears. They would have a radio, a cell phone, and they could alert officers to things they see, and then the officers could come over and deal with the situation. So that is definitely one of our targets with that program.
Thank you very much.
I would suggest that business owner should probably speak with the former owner of that business. When he owned
Get
that
some
business,
advice.
we didn't have problems with kids hanging out on that corner.
I wonder why.
I can guarantee you. I witnessed it firsthand. Moving on. Anything else, Chief?
Were you by any chance the former owner?
No.
I was just a lonely observer.
I don't have anything else unless you have questions.
Any questions of the Chief?
Oh.
Thank you, Chief.
I know.
Garner, step up.
That's the safest place in the town.
Yeah, that was Fresno Main Street was pretty safe when he was there.
I just want to give a quick update to the council. We've had a lot of activity in Public Works lately. We just went out to bid for some street sweeping services. We're evaluating the bids. I hope to, by the next council meeting in April, to bring forth a proposal for street sweeping services. We got some pretty good bids in. It's been very competitive out there. In addition, we went out and got some prices for some sidewalk repairs. We're going to be walking through the community, figuring out which sidewalk repairs we can get to. And part of that, I think it was the last council meeting, we had a resident come forward about Von Renner. There was an issue with the parking lot. I went out there with my superintendent, we assessed it, and we have a solution that we're going to do is there's two driveway approaches, and in between that driveway approach, there's the regular sidewalk, and they're driving off that sidewalk. Yeah. We're proposing that we're going to go in and take that section out between there and just make it one big full driveway. It's only about 3 feet wide. Yeah. So in order to help from having this problem in the future, as part of our sidewalk repair, we're probably going to take that section out and replace it so it is one big long driveway. We have our storage basin projects out to bid right now. We've sent out $300 worth of plans at $6 a piece out to bidders. We have a lot of interest. I think we had sent out 60 packages for this project. We got responses from the Sacramento area bidders exchange. Called us today and asked if they could post our project on there as well. So I think we're going to get some pretty good response on this one. It's going to be a great project. I hope the bids come in as our other bids have been coming in. We're also moving forward with a street resurfacing project. We have some grant funding that we're moving forward with. The plans and specs should be coming in for my review. I think it's in the next couple weeks. And we'll get that out to bid as well so we can get advantage before all the ERA money becomes available and the prices jump. So Public Works is trying to take advantage of that. Michael already talked a little bit about the stimulus money. I've just spent 3.5 hours today in meetings discussing just stimulus monies and CMAQ funding, which is congestion mitigation air quality funding that we're after. And we got another meeting tomorrow to discuss it. We have to have a recommendation for Caltrans coming up this week. So I don't want to give any information out other than I'm still arm wrestling with all the other constituents. As soon as I have what I consider some solid information, I'll bring that forward. Our goal is, the city manager's goal and my goal is to see if we can get 100% funding for our plaza project. So we don't have to worry about coming out of our pocket with any funding. We are aligned very, very well with this project. It meets the ideal stimulus type of project. It has to be ready to go as soon as the gates are open for the money. And our project is at Caltrans Environmental. We're supposed to have approval of that in about a week and a half. As soon as that is there, then we have what's called an E76 form that has to be filled out. Our consultant has that form ready to go. As soon as the environmental is approved, he submits his project back to back. I was in a meeting on Thursday with Caltrans, and we told them about the project. They're very aware of the project, and they're ready to assign their economic stimulus funding number to our project as soon as they're able to do that. There's still some ambiguity as far as how much money is coming to the region, and we're going to leave that up in the air until we get some more solid numbers. But we're getting closer, and I'll probably still have another 10 or 12 hours of meetings on this, I'm assuming, before we get it resolved. But another thing that I'm working on is I have a contact at the City of Modesto that's helping me with what's called CMAQ projects, the congestion mitigation air quality projects. And I'm trying to assemble a list of projects in the area. And one of the projects that came to mind was that the city manager brought to my attention was a pedestrian bike path throughout the city. And our assistant planner has said that the general plan has that in there, and so that's one project that I'm going to try and get phased funding for, so eventually we can start putting together a pathway through the city. And I think that's going to be an excellent project to help reduce air quality, or help us meet air attainment standards. City of Modesto has offered up to help us put this project forward so that we can get high ranking on it, so that when the funding comes in, we can be in that funding part of it. And we have a couple other projects that I'm thinking of that hopefully we can get funding for, but we're moving forward with as much as we can. Newman has a very, very good record for spending their grant funding money. There's other agencies that have left millions of dollars on the table in past history. Don't think we've left very much at all. That's about all I had for council right now. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions of Garner?
I had a question. We had a citizen tonight complain about a potential hazard, safety hazard. And my concern is, do we do safety evaluations? I'm sure we do, but how frequently do we do them in the city as far as, it's like any company will do an evaluation of their property to make sure that there isn't any hazards. Do we do this as a matter of fact?
I don't know that we have a special program where we go around routinely and do that. I have to find out from my superintendent. I'm still learning all the ropes here. But I do know that when we're at facilities, if we see something that's a safety issue, that's addressed as quickly as we can, just like as we do with graffiti removal. I have spoken with Ms. Pat Massetti regarding that project, the issue that she had over there, and I've been trying to get a hold of her for a few days. I just spoke with her outside regarding this. They wanted to paint the wheel blocks that are in front of there, and I've told her that would be appropriate, and that we are also looking at, there's a light up in that, right by that door. Somebody come in and broke the light out, vandals. So we're looking at probably putting some kind of vandal-proof light there instead, so we can help out. The Louis J. Memorial Building was one that we know gets a lot of use with elder people, and so we have our superintendent working on trying to get me some prices so we can at least get that lighting taken care of for them. And if they're willing to move forward and paint those bumper blocks, we're more than for that. The other issue regarding the park bench at Janet Carlson Park, I did speak with her and told her I'd get back to her on that. We went out and reassessed the sign. What really needs to happen on that one, I just spoke with her about it, is the posts on each side are starting to fade. The sign itself is made out of recycled material, and so the sign is okay. It's just the posts that need to be touched up. And we do have a bench in our in storage that we're willing to donate to them and put the concrete in. They're willing to pay for the materials. We're willing to provide the labor for doing that. So I'm working with Ms. Massetti, and I'm going to meet with her tomorrow morning actually to finalize this.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, and I think that the lighting issue, a lot of times, because if it's not observed by our staff, we don't know about the lighting. So it's probably a good idea to check that, and it's important that we do have good lighting around that building, if nothing else, just to keep the vandals away.
Correct, and the graffiti.
Yeah, and the graffiti.
If you look at the scenario of carrying items in front of you, you really can't see what's at your
Exactly.
feet,
Nope.
and so
Exactly.
it's easy to trip over one of those.
Yeah.
I would think that anybody would be doing that, but I'd be hesitant to remove those. I've talked to her about that, only because I would be afraid of somebody going into the building.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what their primary purpose is, or encroaching upon the sidewalk where the people using the building use that.
Yeah.
But I'm welcome to any suggestions. We'll be out there replacing that light. If we're not doing it this week, I'd be surprised.
Appreciate it. And I just want to say thanks, Garner. I appreciate your tenacity and staying on top of these projects and trying to get money and including the stimulus package and everything that we have coming to us and staying on top of it. I know you and Michael have been working on that, so
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We're being diligent.
Do you have any trees available?
Jeez. Again?
Again. The staples are falling out of the leaves and everything.
Do like I did. When the wind blew my tree over, I just filled it in with sand.
I'm thinking of doing it because these guys, they busted their buns to, put it in a different area and everything else, and that tree, everything else is budding around it. But
Have you heard about a plastic tree?
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking too.
Unfortunately, our soil conditions here are not conducive to trees. They may last 3 to 10 years, but due to the high salinity, we're having some real issues. You plant a tree, it does very well. Roots get down deep enough to hit that salt, and then they're done. We addressed this with the Hill Park project, actually, of trying to get some trees that are more conducive for the conditions of the soil. I think we do have some money this year, probably not next year, for trees, but it's very limited.
Yeah.
We're having to reduce our supplies as much as we can to meet budget demands. But I do remember seeing a line item that we have some money, but it might not be there next year. So if you have something in particular, please let me know. I'll be happy.
I'm not sure if it's worth the wait, the waste it, because it never, I've lost like 4 trees.
You must have some
These guys
very high
are-
groundwater right in that area.
There's something there, yeah, that's just killing it, so.
My recommendation would be, if you're interested, is be contact Ed Perry with the Stanislaus County. Maybe get some suggestions from him, because maybe, well, keep doing the same thing, obviously, is not going to work for you.
No,
because
it's
the tree
not.
keeps dying, so we have to do
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
And, I know that our superintendent does have some recommendations on trees that are more than likely to survive, but no guarantees.
Yeah, I think Ernie and his boys did that, to be honest, but
That's what
this,
I understand.
this thing, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that, but thank you.
There is always the alternative, which is to put in one that doesn't grow. A fake one.
A fake one.
Those work really good at my house. I don't have to worry about pruning them or picking the leaves up.
Thanks, Garner.
Thanks, Garner.
Mayor, if I may, just real quickly, just to follow up with Mayor Pro Tem Martina, just so the council knows, we are part of what's called the Central San Joaquin Valley Risk Management Association. We partner with 50 plus other cities. And every couple of years, every few years, they come out and help us again do an assessment of all of our facilities, buildings, playground and equipment and all that, on top of what we do here as well. So it's been probably 2 years since they've come out. So, but that's just another layer that we need to do.
Right. Terry, have anything? Nothing? Sure you don't want to jump up again? And where's Sonia this evening?
She was unavailable for tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. Items from council members then. We'll start with Ted.
I'm involved in that, and I apologize, I don't know the name of it, but where all seniors at the high school, at Orstema High School, have to go through, they do a project,
Senior
and
portfolios.
what's it called?
Senior portfolios.
Portfolios. And I've done it now 2 years in a row, but I was last night, and Bob McConnell's there, and Jerry, one of the curriculum people. But I'll tell you, with 11 kids, and it was amazing. I forget, you hear about them hanging out in the corners and all that, and you really get an attitude almost. But the kids are wonderful, just nice people, nice young people. I encourage anyone that's especially the city of Newman, to get involved in that. Just do it one time, one night, and it's only a couple hours and things, but it was wonderful. There were really some neat kids and some nice, some good futures there. Especially do it at first, because the first kids that do it are the ones that are organized. At the back end of it, those kids are like myself. I'd have been on the back end of it. So they may not be the future, but these kids were all wonderful, sharp kids. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
I think I'm sharing the spotlight with you on Monday.
You know it. Oh, really?
On the 30th?
No. No. I had to. Yeah, because I got.
And I've done that about the last 5-6 years, and it's pretty rewarding to go in and the kids are given a list of questions and they're based on their portfolio, and we have some really sharp kids over there, and it is rewarding just to sit in on those. So if you are interested, I'd encourage you to get a hold of Susan Cope at the district office. Maybe get on the list for next year, because they're always looking for people to be to sit on those panels and ask the kids the questions. Anything else, Ted?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Roberta?
I would like to compliment Chief McGill on the added visibility of squad cars on the street in the last year. They appear to be out there a lot more than they were a couple of years ago.
That's it? Well done. Nick?
Nothing, I already spoke my 2 cents worth.
Bob?
I just wanted to ask Jose, is it going to be depot number 2? Thank you.
And I don't have anything to add this evening, so we'll adjourn into closed session. Conference with labor negotiator, all bargaining groups, Government Code 54957.6.
Adam.
And conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, 2 cases, Government Code 54956.9. Thank you.